You're listening to Autumn on the Air, the weekly podcast that brings you conversations about the impact of research commercialization and the people who make it happen. Join us for interviews with patent and licensing professionals, innovators, entrepreneurs, and tech transfer leaders on the issues and trends that matter most. Keep listening for an inside track on the people, IP policies, and politics changing our world.
Welcome to Autumn on the Air. Today we're shifting our focus to the engine room of one of Africa's premier research institutions. Our guest is Ravini Moodley, the director of the Technology Transfer Office at Stellenbosch University's Innovus. Ravini is a registered technology transfer professional with a fascinating journey that spans the public sector, NGOs, and major research councils like the CSIR and the Technology Innovation Agency. She holds a master's in technology and innovation management from the University of Sussex in the UK and a background in microbiology from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. At Innovus, she leads a specialized team of technical and administrative experts who are tasked with a critical mission: finding the gems within the university's research and polishing them for the real world. While her chief director, Anita Nell, focuses on the broader commercialization strategy and holding companies, Ravini is on the ground managing the pipeline that turns complex science into social, economic, and environmental impact. Ravini, welcome to the podcast. So excited to have you here on the air.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks so much for inviting me. I'm so looking forward to the discussion.
Yes, I am too. And I thought the best way to start the podcast is, we've heard about the high-level strategy at Stellenbosch before, but you're directing the TTO itself, the engine room, as it were. Can you walk us through what a typical day looks like for you and your team of 8? I know you have 6 technical specialists and 2 administrators. As you sift through the university's research output, because I know there is a lot going on at Stellenbosch.
Yep, that's very true, Lisa. But no 2 days are ever the same. And we're always hoping that there's not a crisis that you're walking into. But very often we start with a meeting in the morning. Sometimes we have a meeting with our research management team. We often go over contract conditions that have IP-related aspects to it, contracts that we might be working that might have research-related aspects. It's a really great opportunity for us to connect with our research contracts group, and it really helps our teams to work well together. Sometimes we have an early morning mandate meeting where we talk about licensing terms and the team shares what they're doing, and we benefit from each other's perspectives on, what's the best way to tackle some licensing opportunities. From there, everybody goes off onto their hunt for research that's exciting, meeting with researchers, meeting with industry partners, looking for opportunities to connect research and business partners. For me, it's often catching up on emails, catching up with documents that need to be done. Also, there's so many guidelines or policies that need to be looked at and comment given. So a lot of the admin, reporting, a lot of time goes into reporting to both executive, senior management, and also government reporting in our case. So a bit of time on that. And then for me, my favorite part is getting stuck into some of the projects I'm working on. Very few that I can get a chance to work on because, time is so limited. But yeah, that's for me the most exciting part. I'm planning events every now and then. Yeah, keeps us busy.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are definitely busy. And I know one of the things that you've mentioned is that researchers are already playing in the future. Given that, I'm curious how you and your team bridge the gap between a researcher's futuristic vision and the immediate practical needs of the market.
Yeah, I think it's it's a difficult one. I think there's something between inspiration and aspiration that we're looking at. And I mean, understanding the researcher's motivations behind that research. When a researcher embarks on a research project, they often have almost a very deep understanding of a problem that they want to solve. And there's something that's inspired them to work on this and to find solutions to this problem. So for us to understand those inspirations really help us to then tap into what can become the aspiration. How do we get the solution out into the market? Sometimes the aspiration to start a spin-out company. And sometimes the aspiration really is to look at multiple ways of solving the problem and to continue with the research. So I think for us, it's really about bridging that gap and understanding what it is that the researcher wants to do. And how do we enable the pathway that's best, and what kind of assistance we can provide to enable that pathway.
Now, I think a lot of listeners probably wouldn't appreciate that. Stellenbosch is a very research-intensive university. There's a lot of inventions that are coming out of it. So that translates into a heavy pipeline. Talk to us about your team's process for identifying high potential IP. Do you wait for disclosures, or are you out in the labs hunting for diamonds in the rough or hidden gems, so to speak?
So Lisa, I think it's a bit of both. I think when it comes to hunting, my team is fantastic at that. They are really spectacular at forming deep relationships with the researchers and, understanding where the research group is at, making sure that they're there in the lab when they need to be, that they can spot it when things are ready to happen and before the publications get...
Yes, before the publications happen. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that's really critical. So we're out a lot, but also I think we spend a lot of time trying to do awareness. So we do a lot of webinars where we talk about what the Tech Transfer Office does. We bring in some of the founders of our spin-out companies to talk about the pathways that they've followed so that researchers understand how to move research into commercial opportunities. So there's quite a lot of work that we do on that. Then we have our events, and one of the really important events for us is the Inventors Awards, which we have annually, where we celebrate the patents that have been granted in that year. And in this way, we get to recognize our inventors and also, create quite a bit of noise around celebrating achievements, which hopefully inspires other researchers to also look at commercializing their research.
So I know you have a strong focus on sustainability, specifically the Urobo technology, which has been called a silver bullet for plastic waste. Can you use that as a case study and talk to us about how it moved from lab bench to a spin-out opportunity under your watch?
Okay, so I'm really, really impressed with the team that's been working on this. And I'm so glad to have been part of the group supporting the Urobo team. So I started in Stellenbosch University about 3 years ago, and this was one of the projects that landed on my table. And at that stage, it was a patent that is shared between Stellenbosch University and University of Padova in Italy. So really great partnership between the two universities. And the robot team is really fantastic. We've got an academic from Padova, we've got an academic from Stellenbosch University, and we've got the founders who, both academics are founders, together with the postgrads. Wessel and Dominique have been phenomenal in being the young founders, really driving this technology forward. What it is some enzymes that are produced within genetically modified yeast cells that help to degrade bioplastics. So, unfortunately, with sustainability technologies, there are no silver bullets. It's got to be multiple different technologies to solve the really difficult challenges of waste in the world. So for me, this technology provides a lot of opportunity, and the team has been working in Italy to look at how it could be absorbed by certain waste management sectors in Italy. And it's given them a lot of opportunity to test some of the technologies there that the facilities are not available in South Africa. So that partnership has been really fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen in the future. The team presented at the Holt Prize, and they did really well. Didn't win, but I think they were really phenomenal there. So fingers crossed.
Yes, definitely fingers crossed. And congratulations. It sounds like incredible technology. So I know Innovus has a unique structure with the LaunchLab incubator, and the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises acts as a holding company. Where does your TTO team hand off the baton? Do you stay involved once a company spins out, or does your focus shift back to the next technology in the pipeline?
Okay, so I think there's a fantastic partnership between the Tech Transfer Office and LaunchLab, our incubator. And we do hand over the companies to LaunchLab at a stage, but it's a very wide area. There are times when we tend to be more involved, and in some projects, less involved. It depends on the nature of the technology, depends on what it is that the spin-out company needs. In general, some of the senior tech transfer people will move into a director role on the spin-out company and sit on the board of the spin-out company. But from a operational perspective, we do the disclosure, we do the IP protection, we do the initial business analysis to see what the commercial opportunity is. Is there a better opportunity for licensing to an existing company, or is it better to spin out? And when that decision is to spin out, we tend to stay involved for a little while to make sure that the founders are comfortable, that they have the knowledge and skills to take it forward, because often our tech transfer people have good knowledge of the technology and of the industries around it. So they often do handhold with connections to certain industry partners, etc. But ultimately, it would move over into LaunchLab.
Very, very neat. You've got that process down, it sounds like.
We do, and we have a slide for it that shows what's happening and how it moves. But I think what's really great is the tech transfer team, the LaunchLab team, the University of Stellenbosch Enterprises team. We're really one big team, and so we're very happy to work together to do what it takes to get that technology and to get that spin-out company going.
Yeah, you really have a great group of people in your office.
I'm so lucky to have the kind of people that I work with part of my team, and to be part of a team that's amazing.
Yeah, I got the pleasure of meeting a few of them a couple of years ago, and they were just incredible individuals. So you are very, very lucky for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you have a diverse background, having worked at the CSIR, the Technology Innovation Agency, and even managing an inventor's NGO. How has sitting on the funding and development side of the table changed your approach to tech transfer now that you're inside a university?
So I suppose when I was at the NGO, I used to always tell our inventors need to think like investors. And I think that still carries on here at the university, where we got to get our researchers to think about what is the value proposition of the technology. How does it change an industry partner's problems? How does it solve their problem? So I think the funding perspective did help a lot, but I think maybe, especially even as a government funding agency, you don't really get involved with dealing directly with saying no to an inventor. And now in a university, you're at the coalface and talking to an inventor who is passionate about their technology, passionate about their inventions. And so, it's given me a lot to reflect on in how one approaches that.
Have you gotten better at saying no?
No.
Yeah, that's sometimes can be a hard skill to develop is saying no.
Yeah, it's something, and I know I have to tell my team to do that as well. But it's something that I think we have to learn to do, and sometimes that slow no is worse than a
quick off the cuff kind of no.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
But sometimes to preserve the relationship, I understand when those slow no's are also necessary. So I don't know. I maybe got about 15 years to retirement. Maybe I will figure it out then.
Before you retire. So you've been quoted saying that in a world powered by AI, empathy is still our most important tool. And that's a powerful statement for a tech transfer director. How does empathy practically apply when you're negotiating a license or telling a researcher that their baby isn't patentable?
Yeah. I used that statement really. I wanted to demonstrate to spin out companies that their connection with the customer is really about empathy. Understanding the needs of the customer, understanding the needs of that industrial client at a fundamental level can help shift the conversation and the technology to where it needs to be. And when you ask that question about how I apply empathy, it's a difficult one to answer, because I think, our researchers are so invested in their technology. But I also think that sometimes a patent is not the solution. Sometimes there are other forms of IP protection that can deliver better and probably even longer term impact and value that we need to think of. So I think that when it comes to empathy, it's really to understand what it is that the researcher wants to achieve. And if there are opportunities to enable the solution to have a different pathway to market or a different pathway to impact.
Now, you've studied in the UK at Sussex and worked across the South African ecosystem. Now you're here at your first autumn annual meeting in Seattle, beautiful Seattle, where we are at now. What are the starkest differences or maybe similarities you see between the challenges of U.S. TTOs versus what you managed back in Stellenbosch?
So it's very interesting. I think there's also similarities. Before we go on to the differences, I think the similarities are quite stark in terms of we're all trying to get researchers to come and disclose to us. We're all trying to get them to disclose to us before they publish.
Please, before you publish, yeah.
And we're all trying to get a foot in the door with an industrial partner who's willing to look at this bigger vision. So for me, that's exciting. And from some of the people that I've been speaking to the workshop I attended yesterday, a lot of similar programs that we have to, from World IP Day to Inventors Awards. So there's quite a lot of similarities that we go about doing this. So I think there's value to know that a system that is 50 years old and our system that is about 25 years old, there's so much of similarity. So for me, that is really, really encouraging. When it comes to the differences, I think the size of your market is just amazing. Just flying across the country from Atlanta to Seattle, you get a sense of the scale of the US. So yeah, I think that is a huge difference in terms of the size of the market, but also the way the US is connected to the various North America, South America, and then to Europe. And we in South Africa, at the southern tip of the African continent, we're actually quite isolated. So the way we do tech transfer is really to connect with the global markets. And for me, that is our biggest challenge, but also it gives us an opportunity to innovate differently. And I think there's lots of solutions emerging from our country that could have value in others.
So looking at your pipeline for the next year, is there one particular technology or sector at Stellenbosch that you are most personally excited about?
Oh, we've got some amazing technologies. We've got some amazing research that's happening at the university. But just from my background, the sustainability technologies are always exciting. And for me, the agricultural technologies are exciting. And I think that's the other thing. When it comes to certain technology, like especially agricultural technologies, we don't have to compete globally. We don't have to compete with an MIT or an Oxford University. When it comes to agricultural technologies, we got to make sure that they embed in our local environments. And so for me, we know those industries, and getting those technologies out to the right people is much more faster and more impactful if we can get the right people to talk to each other and get the right deals done.
Well, Ravini, it's been great seeing you again, and congratulations on making it to your first autumn annual meeting, and continue the great work that you guys are doing at Stellenbosch.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been fantastic to chat, and I hope you will come to South Africa soon and do some podcasts there, because there's amazing work being done at all our universities.
Oh, I would love to. It's a beautiful country. Ravini, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast today. It's always refreshing to hear from people doing the heavy lifting of translating raw science into products that change lives. If you want to learn more about Innovus and their portfolio, from their bioplastics to their satellite tech, you can visit innovus.co.za. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Autumn on the Air.
Thanks for listening to Autumn on the Air with Lisa Mueller. Get social with us and share your thoughts. You can tweet us at AUTM or visit us online at autm.net. We'll be back next week on the air. Be sure to join us.